Thank you, Senator Hanson. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I want to speak in favour of this bill. However, I want to mention some alternatives that we can also adopt, or not alternatives, but some extra initiatives. Accountability has long been established as a fundamental part of Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party, accountability to the people. Senator Hanson has discussed this for 20 years, and we endorse her stance wholeheartedly. In my first media conference, after being named a successful candidate for the Senate, I raised 3 issues when I was asked what are my priorities. The first word I uttered was accountability, to restore accountability. After 9 years of dealing with politicians in this chamber and also in the House of Representatives, I recognised that there was very, very little accountability in Australia's parliament, federal parliament. The second issue was cost of living, and accountability comes in there as well. And the third aspect was security, economic security and personal security, safety, and accountability comes in there. So accountability is more than just Pollie Perks or putting a lid on them. But that's a good place to start. I can recall, before I entered Parliament, that Ms Bronwyn Bishop was held accountable for her waste of money with the helicopter rides. And there was a big kerfuffle from the Labor Party about that, and rightly so. But then when the government then raised the fact that Mr Tony Burke's expenditures were so high, as Senator Hanson has just discussed, everyone went silent. Everyone went silent. And that is not good enough, because accountability is fundamental in our parliamentary representative system of governance. We are representing the people, we are governing on their behalf. In South West Queensland, when I went on my listening trip through South West Queensland just last month, people are disgusted, not only with the behaviour in the chambers, but also the lack of accountability. People in far north Queensland, when I went up there the previous month, are disgusted. We're just not getting to the points. We're not addressing people's needs, and there is something else about this too. It is destroying Parliament's credibility. It is destroying the credibility of every single member in Australia's Parliament. So one way we can bring accountability is to track public spending by having the money actually tracked. Because one thing we know is that when government's expenditure, especially spending by any political office, is tracked, then people think twice, Mr Acting Deputy President, before splashing the public cash around. And when we say cash, when we say tracked rather, we mean in real time, a web-based format that makes it easy for the public to search and view. Now that will terrify some members of Parliament, but we welcome it. And last month in Bundaberg, I foreshadowed legislation coming from Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party with regard to a transparency portal. It's an inexpensive web-based computer program that displays all government expenditure on the internet in real time for public view. The moment a cent is spent, up it goes on the transparency portal for scrutiny by 10 million Australian adults and adolescents, because we know they're the best at catching us out. This system has been proven to pay for itself many times over, with the expenditure that is involved in the application implementation saved through high accountability in very, very quick time. And once it's recovered, then from there on, we are making savings. The portal is used successfully throughout the United States and Europe, and now it's our turn in Australia. I was briefed on the portal's potential by Tim Andrews, Executive Director of the Australian Taxpayers Alliance, and he researched the concept further when he visited Washington, DC in December last year. And I also picked up words of that when I went to meet some of the Trump administration's transition team. We are delighted to learn now that senators such as Senator Bernardi have advocated this system for quite some time. It is a proven system. Pollie Perks, though, is just the tip of the iceberg, Mr Acting Deputy President, of government wastage and the lack of accountability. Pollie's trips to the Gold Coast or enjoying black-tie parties on the taxpayer's purse are the types of things the Labor and Liberal duopoly like to protect. So we don't expect much change emanating from the old majors anytime soon. Sadly, politicians' largesse is a drop in the ocean when compared to the amount government departments waste, either consciously for window dressing or through lack of accountability. The real benefit of an online portal is that the whole of government expenditure will be open to scrutiny, the whole of government expenditure, not just the offices of politicians. Mr. Andrews informed me that in the US, the portal was used to uncover the fact, this is just one of many examples, that in one state, I think it was Texas, but I'm not sure, government printer cartridges were being double ordered, and a thrifty member of the public saved the government, just on that item alone, $500,000 a year. Within months of the portal being implemented overseas, most government departments immediately reduced expenditure significantly as they realised they were being watched by millions of people. 10 million auditors in this country would be watching over our shoulder. Last December, I put the portal proposal to a community meeting in Cowan as well, North Queensland, and received emphatic support. In the Cape, for example, the locals are wondering why millions, make that hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, are being spent on road funding when it is a well-known fact that similar roads cost a lot less to build. And there were some gross abuses of that process that they showed me. Locals have told me they expect a higher level of accountability from the government, and this portal is just one answer to the questions they have about expenditure of their tax dollars. But there is a second aspect to raising accountability, and that is the aspect of character, ethical issues. We need, as a parliament, to lead by example. That is why the senators in Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party fly by economy always. It is a matter of example. But we also need to go further, thirdly, in looking at accountability in all aspects. We need to come back to compliance with our Constitution. We need to remember that our Constitution involves a competitive federalism. So, contrary to the centralisation of funds, contrary to the centralisation of power in Canberra, our Constitution devolves power to the states, and we need to get back to that. Send many of the functions, such as the Environmental Department, the Health Department, the Education Department, back to the states. That would save hundreds of millions of dollars. It would save, in fact, tens of billions of dollars. It would also give closer scrutiny to expenditure. And then at the state level, we've seen amalgamation of councils in Queensland that has been counterproductive and inefficient. And New South Wales still hasn't learned from that, and now they're going through the same, with the people protesting but the state government still doing it. I have seen examples, I've been told by good councillors, that we need to go back from the regional councils, the amalgamated councils, to shire and local. And here's where it really matters. When a councillor is walking around his or her district, then they can see things. When the employees of the council are walking around, they can see things. Accountability is not just about a system. It is also about information and being close to the people using the system, using the information. So instead of someone calling up and dealing with a bureaucrat who then allocates a job from one side, allocates resources from one side of the region to do something in another side of the region, they just get it done right there in the Shire. And Senator Hanson knows exactly what I'm talking about, because that is the foundation of Senator Hanson's political skill and instinct. She has done that at the local level and done it highly successfully. Regulations, in fact, distort. They put a protection around public scrutiny. And the other thing that happens with regulations is that when one regulation, people find a way around it, we then patch it with another way. And I've seen that so many times in my first 3 months in Parliament. Patches upon patches upon patches, each adding to cost and, quite frankly, destroying accountability often. So regulations kill accountability and they centralise. But another thing is that at the moment our revenue in the form of taxation is separated from our spending. And we have massive arguments in this House and in the other House about that waste. So we need to have comprehensive tax reform to bring in a more efficient and effective tax system. That is a must, and it must be tied to spending. As I said, in summary, accountability is a matter of character. We can put forward a solution immediately to increase accountability through all spending at federal level with a transparency portal. Because I want to finish with this summary. Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party is in favour of close scrutiny of every dollar that is spent by politicians and by the public servants. Why? Because, like public servants, politicians serve the people. We are simply guardians of the taxpayers' money. Thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President.
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Senator Ryan.
Acting Deputy.